That was neat. I got excited. We had new stuff. I was playing along with the music. Then I heard it go a little longer and I thought, what was that? And then I saw more intro. It was great. Good job, Justin. Enjoyed that. Always fun to get surprised when you're getting ready for the show. And then, oh, there's a surprise.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Chris Yao. He's Maurice Patton, and we are live from the Lee Company studio. Glad to have you guys with us as we are getting ready for a Thursday show. Lots to get to today. We've got Coach's Corner coming up, and typically, Mo, that's a high school segment. Today, it will not be.
Today it is not. No. We spoke about this briefly at some point earlier this week. I don't remember if it was yesterday or not. The days start to run together. But former Auburn, former Clemson, former South Alabama, and former Coastal Carolina men's basketball coach Cliff Ellis is being honored tonight over at Cumberland, because before he was any of those things, he was Cumberland's junior college men's basketball coach. And I believe the floor over there is named for him. But they are recognizing him for his long and successful career at the Division I level tonight during their game. And he's going to come on and visit with us for a little bit. And I'm sure it's going to be a great segment, because basketball is what he does, but it's not all he does.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that.
Very much looking forward to it. Looking forward to a visit from Dave Hooker a little bit later, when we were trying to figure out who we wanted to have on to talk more in depth about this this Tennessee NIL investigation. We went through a couple of different names, and I thought, who's going to be the most entertaining? Well, Dave is pretty entertaining.
Dave is pretty entertaining, and I think about 30 or 45 minutes ago, his segment got more entertaining with something that we're going to be discussing here in just a
second. So, yeah, we're going to get into all that. Of course, Terry's going to join us because, well, we talked about the staff yesterday. Well, check one off the list. The defensive coordinator position has been filled, and so we'll talk to Terry about that. All of that and much, much more as we continue on this Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today. Mo, let's take a dive into yesterday's results and get today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
High school girls basketball scores from Wednesday night. Clarksville defeated Clarksville Northeast 84-31. Franklin defeated Summit 64-46. Hendersonville with a 43-26 win over Mount Juliet. Independence defeated Ravenwood 42-35. It was Nolensville 45. Nolensville 45, Centennial 29. Reading is fundamental. Page 45, Brentwood 39, and Rossview with a 66-35 win over Springfield.
On the boys' side, Franklin down Summit 66-51. Friendship Christian was a 66-32 win over Mount Juliet Christian. Hendersonville 53-51 over Mount Juliet. Independence edges Ravenwood 49-47. Mo has coverage of that one on MainStreetMurray.com. Centennial 41, Nolensville 34, Brentwood 69-25 winners over Page.
Men's basketball action last night. Jacksonville defeated Austin P 63-43. North Florida, also of Jacksonville, defeated Lipscomb 85-76.
They just rode together.
Yeah. Indiana State with a 78-72 comeback victory at the curb against Belmont, and Auburn 81, Vanderbilt 54. On the ice, it was the Kings 4, the Preds 2.
Earlier today, Tennessee State defeated Morehead State 71-58 in women's basketball. Okay. I don't know why they played earlier today, but they did.
But they did.
So
okay.
Just letting you know.
All right.
High school basketball tonight. Davidson Academy is at Donaldson Christian at 6. These are girls first, boys to follow. Knowledge Academies at East Robertson. Dayspring Academy at Foundations Christian, Kentucky. Santa Fe's at Frank Hughes. John Overton welcomes Hunters Lane. Cookville goes to Lebanon. Lawrence County's at Marshall County. Spring Hill at home against Shelbyville. Lead Academy's at STEM Academy. Blackman's at Rockville. Republic's at White Creek. Lewis County is at Summertown. And Mo, is this a doubleheader? Columbia at Warren County?
Yes.
Columbia Central is at Warren County as well.
Yes. Let's see. Girls basketball only tonight. No, never mind. Boys basketball only. Nashville Central Christian is at Merrill High. That's a 7:30 tip. Macon County is at Republic. That's a 6 o'clock tip. Men's basketball, Morehead State, in a game that we spoke about with Joe Sullivan yesterday. Morehead State is at Gentry Center, taking on the Tigers of Tennessee State. Women's action tonight. Austin P is at Kennesaw State. That's a 4 o'clock start. Lipscomb is at Queens. That's a 4:30 start. Tennessee is at Georgia in SEC action. That's a 6 o'clock tip down in Athens. And Ole Miss is at Memorial Coliseum. That's a 6:30 tip. And in the association, Cleveland is at the FedEx Forum taking on the Grizzlies of Memphis. That game starts at 7 and can be seen on Valley Sports South. And that is your rundown.
Top Stories brought to you, as always, by our friends at Piggly Wiggly Neely's Mill Shopping Center in Columbia. Make sure to go by and see the fine folks there if you want to find your delicious daily lunch specials. And, of course, they've got fresh hand-cut meats. They have, of course, great produce and much, much more. All cost plus 10 at the register. Neely's Mill in Columbia.
Yes. Top Story. Part 1. Tennessee Sports Writers Association has announced their college basketball players of the week. And John Zhao, not Yao.
Close enough.
Yeah, Zhao averaged 32 points across a pair of Carson Newman victories, earning men's Basketball Player of the Week honors from the TSWA. He had 38 points in a 106-99 win over Emory and Henry, and then I guess 26 points in their 120-81 win over Coker. So Carson Newman's John Zhao is the men's Basketball Player of the Week. UT Martin's Anaya Brown is the women's player of the week, averaged a double-double with 13.5 points and 12.5 rebounds, 14-20 in a 52-44 win over Southeast Missouri, becoming only the third UT Martin player ever to grab 20 or more rebounds. And she went 13-12 and played all 40 minutes in a 73-68 loss to Lindenwood. So congratulations to John Zhao and Anaya Brown, the Tennessee Sports Writers Association's men's and women's players of the week.
Now, the fun begins.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a conversation coming your way right now about a statement from Danny White released, I guess, to social media today.
Yeah, Danny likes to be kind of interactive with
Danny is very
with
online.
Big Orange Country.
Yeah, Danny is very online.
Well, and I think in this day and time, it's a plus. I mean, interacting with your fans is probably a good thing.
No, he's great about it, and I love that he takes a lot of suggestions from Vol Twitter. I do think that it's, sometimes you have to remember that Twitter is not real life, and it's not always indicative of the general public. It is only indicative of the small group of people who are interacting on Twitter. But
I'm not sure how small a group it is, though.
But almost always, except when it comes to the smoky gray uniforms, Vol Twitter is typically aligned in whatever the goal is. And so Danny taking those suggestions, implementing those things like checker kneeling last year for whatever game it was, I don't remember, but it was, they don't checker kneeling last year if it wasn't for Vol Twitter saying, hey, we should checker kneeling.
Mm-hmm.
They did. And just little suggestions like that. He's done a great job. And so directly putting this statement out to social media is very on brand for Danny White and very on brand for Tennessee as a whole right now. And I love it.
Absolutely. You want me to do the honors?
Go ahead.
Statement from Danny White at @AD_Danny White on X. The NCAA generally does not comment on infractions cases. That generally does not comment on infraction cases is in bold and italic in this statement. Why? Because there is a rule against it. However, that has not stopped them in the past from leaking information to the media as they did this week about us. Their actions make this.
Oh, yeah?
Their actions made this ill-conceived investigation public and forced us to defend ourselves. It is clear that the NCAA staff does not understand what is happening at the campus level all over the country in the NIL space. After reviewing thousands of Tennessee coach and personnel phone records, NCAA investigators didn't find a single NIL violation, so they moved the goalpost to fit a predetermined outcome.
Which is not the first time a goalpost has been moved in Knoxville. I just want to know if it's in the Tennessee River too.
I don't think it's in the Tennessee River yet.
It might be when Vol Twitter gets a hold of this.
I think it might wind up there, yes. They are stating that the nebulous contradictory NIL guidelines, parentheses, written by the NCAA, not the membership,
which is
close parentheses,
which is the argument. Continue.
Thank you. Don't matter, and applying the old booster bylaws to collectives. If that's the case, then 100% of the major programs in college athletics have significant violations. This is obviously silly and not productive, as is blaming the membership whenever they are challenged. We need to be spending our time and energy on solutions to better organize college athletics in the NIL era, something that NCAA leadership failed to do back in 2021. Student athletes, prospective student athletes, coaches, and administrators across the country deserve better, and I refuse to allow the NCAA to irrationally use Tennessee as an example for their own agenda.
The last half of that last sentence may be the greatest thing I've ever seen. Since Don D. Plowman called them factually untrue.
Factually untrue, procedurally flawed, and intellectually dishonest.
And now,
I swear, needs to be on the NCAA's tombstone.
And now, just go ahead and add, irrationally using Tennessee as an example for their own agenda.
Yes, sir.
Listen,
Not going to allow it.
the
You can do it, but not to us.
simple fact here is that Danny White laid out exactly the blueprint for how Tennessee is able to fight this. Again, the question of how is the NCAA going to make an example of Tennessee cannot be written because there is no way to do it. Danny White laid out exactly how Tennessee is going to fight this alleged breaking of the rules or violations or whatever.
Assuming that there is an allegation.
Well,
Because I think at this point, the NCAA's best bet would just be to go home.
wash your hands,
Done with it.
be done.
Because you're not going to win.
But here's the problem with that. The problem with that is if that's what they do, then most people are going to say, well, then I guess all we have to do to avoid NCAA sanctions is have our AG type up a letter.
Well, I think you have to do more than that, though. I mean, you have to be right.
That's the key. That's the key is knowing you're right. Donnie Plowman, Danny White have said in zero uncertain terms that we did not do this. We have done nothing wrong. Your retroactive application of a rule the membership did not agree on, did not write, cannot take place because you're not the boss.
No,
You're not the boss.
not this time.
The Austin case is the boss. The antitrust issue governs what you can and cannot do. And that is where I don't understand how they can't figure this out. I don't know, with all of the people that they have involved in Indianapolis, with all the lawyers, that nobody said, hey, this is going to violate antitrust. This Eric Prisbel piece, he's a senior sports business writer at On3, basically says that the NCAA is choosing to make enemies with the very schools it needs to make or to placate. The major, as Danny White says, the major institutions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but did you guys discuss on Friday the television viewership numbers, the 18 schools?
No, we did not.
Okay, so we've not discussed.
Yeah, we've not.
When I say lion's share, I mean 80% of viewers watching college football watch 18 schools. Tennessee is among those 18.
Tennessee is among those 18. And what were there? 8
Southeastern
Conference
schools.
schools, 7 Big Ten schools.
Those are the schools you have to placate.
Yeah, like it or not.
And so I'm not sure what the goal is here, but it ought not be this.
I don't think the NCAA knows what the goal is either. I mean, we talked about this a couple of days ago, and it's almost like they are grasping at straws to try to remain relevant.
And if not relevant, I mean, short of relevant,
Respect my authority.
in charge.
Mhm.
Yeah. They're trying to remain in charge. And every single time they go to court, another chip gets knocked off. And I don't know if you guys know who Tom Mars is?
But everybody in college does.
But let me tell you this. Tom Mars' entire world revolves around kicking the NCAA's butt in court. And he's real good at it. He don't lose often. So I don't know why the NCAA would even think about Tennessee. Again, it doesn't make, none of it makes sense.
Highly concentrated viewership. In Nielsen rated games from 2015 to 23, over half of total FBS viewers are linked to just 18 of the 130 plus teams. Again, from the SEC, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Texas, Auburn, Florida, and Tennessee. From the Big Ten, Ohio State, Michigan. I missed Oklahoma. Sorry. Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, Washington, and Oregon. And Southern Cal.
Oklahoma's only going to get higher too, by the way.
And Texas.
Because now they play Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Now they play Tennessee. Now they play Georgia. Now they play all these teams that are also on this list.
Yeah.
None of their old opponents even come close to this list.
I also missed Penn State from the Big Ten, and from the ACC, you've got Clemson, Florida State, and Notre Dame with an asterisk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 50% of FBS viewership is watching those 18 teams.
Those are the teams you have to placate. Sorry, NCAA. It's just the rules. We don't make them. Oh, wait. Yes, we do.
Yeah, because we're viewing them, right? Yeah. There you go.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the history of college basketball. a very, very lengthy one with Cliff Ellis joining us on Main Street Sports today. Very excited about it. Stick around right after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Chris Yao and Maurice Patton here with you on this fine Thursday as we continue on with the program. Of course, we still have to come Terry McCormick and a throwback interview today to now former Nolensville Little League coach Randy Huth. All of that coming your way here in just a few moments. But before we get to that, we want to go to our first guest on Coach's Corner. You may have seen him on any number of sidelines over the last 50 years. He retired as the winningest. At the time he retired, he was the active winningest coach in college basketball, and that is Coach Cliff Ellis. Coach, thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to be with you.
Good to have you, Coach. We appreciate it. So part of the reason we wanted to have you on is there is a big event going on over at Cumberland University tonight, as they are going to recognize you and your 49-year coaching career that began at Cumberland Junior College, which kind of indicates just how long you've been at it. You know, it's got to be a great honor for you to be recognized over there, where they have already named the court for you.
Well, it's a great honor. I could not have accomplished what I accomplished without Cumberland. It gave me my first chance. I was 26 years of age, young, scared, too afraid to fail, I guess, and gave me the opportunity. And without Cumberland, like I said, I wouldn't be here today. And that's my time to, same point in time, give back to the places that have helped me, and Cumberland is one of those. So I'm glad to be back, because it brings back a lot of memories, and I'm glad to see Cumberland University doing what it's doing. It's really amazing. Over 3,000 students, very good academic institution. They've won, I think, 17 national championships in sports, and a lot of people don't realize the success that Cumberland has had over the years. So, yeah, it's really nice to be back.
And you helped lay the groundwork for some of that success, Coach. 3 years, again, at Cumberland Junior College. In those 3 seasons, Cumberland went 78-12, won a pair of state junior college championships from 73 to 75. So, I mean, you know, obviously, Coach, you mentioned Cumberland University. There are a large number of people that don't realize that Cumberland was once a junior college, probably, but, you know, it was, and you were ultra successful there during that time.
At least half the people in this room didn't know that until you said it.
Well, Cumberland's been through a lot of transition. They were they were a famous law school at one time, and they've gone several directions. They were a junior college, and it became a university, but it's done a lot of things for a lot of people. And those days I was here from 72 to 75, and it was a great run. It elevated me to be in a position where I was offered a Division I job at University of South Alabama. And, you know, one of the amazing things about the run here was it was a team that I had that was 34-2 and was 4th in the country, but it averaged 105 points a game. Now that was before the the 3-point shot. So think about that. I can remember scoring close to 80 points and a half. Now this is 50 years ago, but we had a group of guys. Charles Fishback was a leader. You probably know his son more, Damian Fishback, who does ESPN and the SEC network, and he played for me at Auburn. But he was a leader of this team, and it was just a great time. And it gave me the opportunity to move on to Division I, which for the next 40 plus years is what I did.
Coach, when you were at South Alabama, I was a kid, but I think I remember, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, you guys made the NCAAs one year and you had a backcourt of peanut butter and somebody. Now, clean me up on that.
Well, they came after me.
Were they after you?
Yeah,
Okay.
they came after me, but we had, while when our first team, when I took the job, the president told me, he said, "You've got 3 years to turn it. We think that we made a mistake going Division I. We think we should be a Division II program." And I had one assistant and one graduate assistant. And I told these guys, I said, "Look, we're not going to beat Alabama and Auburn for recruits. Let's take where the population areas are. I want somebody." The state of Florida at that time had about 13 million people in it. I said, "Get into Florida, find somebody, and I want one of you to go to Los Angeles, California, and I want you to stay there." And we built our program around going into the cities where there was a huge population and just finding people that weren't offered by UCLA or Florida or Florida State. And we got lucky. We signed some guys that in 1979 went to the NCAA tournament for the first time and played Louisville on national television on CBS. In Louisville, remember Darrell Griffith in that group? They went on to win a national championship. We had an undefeated team in conference, but this was really the first time people saw South Alabama. And with a minute and a half to go, we have the ball in our hands down by 1 against Louisville, Denny Crum's team. We have a backdoor pass and we miss the layup, and we have to go down and foul because there was no shot clock. And we fouled Darrell Griffith. And he went on to play in the NBA, was a great player. He was so shook that when he shot his free throw, he banked it in. He missed it that bad. But anyway, he counted. They went up by 3. There was no 3-point. We heaved the shot. We ended up losing by 5. They go on with Darrell. They go on to win a national championship. But that was a time when there was not 68 teams or whatever. They were just 32 teams. I don't even think there were 32 that year. And we were able to get in, and that changed it. And we went on and did some great things. And the peanut butter team, that team was after us, but that train just kept going after we left. And I left and I took the it's a interesting story. You think things work, the divine intervention and whatever, but several things. The reason I went from South Alabama to Clemson offered me the job when I was at South Alabama, and we had those good teams. And they offered me the job, and I turned it down. I turned the job down. And I was recruiting, and we had a kid by the name of Vernon Maxwell. Remember him, Houston Rockets?
Yes, sir. I
Yeah.
Well, Vernon Maxwell had visited my campus, and we had just played the University of Florida in a tournament. And I don't know if you remember the name Norm Sloan.
Yes, sir.
But he was the coach at Florida. And we upset him in the tournament. So Norm, they called him Stormin' Norman.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but Norm, we beat him, and he was real upset. Vernon Maxwell lived in Gainesville, Florida. And I went to sign Vernon Maxwell because I had him. And I went to Gainesville, Florida, had turned the Clemson job down, went to Vernon's house, knocked on the door opened, he's sitting with his mama. I said, "Oh my goodness, there's something not right here." She said, "Sit down right here. Sit down right here. Coach, you've done a great job recruiting my son, I just want you to know that he loves what you did, but he's always wanted to go to the University of Florida. So I go straight to the airport, put a dime or a quarter in the payphone, called the AD back, because I had this happen so many times at South Alabama, so many times, like Bobby Lee Hurt, telling me to come up. He's going to sign, and he signed with Alabama. I just had that happen too many times. And I finally said, maybe I need to look at Clemson. So I put the dime in the phone, called him up, and he said, we'll have a plane pick you up in Atlanta. So I flew to Atlanta, got off, went and interviewed. They offered me the job. Bottom line is I went to sign Vernon Maxwell and came back as Clemson's basketball coach. Now I'm going to give you another story. I almost coached Larry Bird at Cumberland College. Now I see your eyes.
Okay. Hold on. We're perked up here.
Yeah, you got our
Larry
attention,
Bird.
Coach.
Larry Bird. I had a kid by the name of Danny King, French Lick, Indiana. He played for me, and he comes running. I lived in Justin Potter Hall. He comes running to my door. He said, Coach, my best friend just left the University of Indiana. Larry had signed with Indiana, but he had left. He and Bobby Knight did not get along. So he left.
I believe that, Coach.
Well, he had left, and Danny says, we need him. He's not anywhere. We still had time to get him in school. We'd already started school. It's in August sometime. We still had possibility. I said, you go and you stay there and you call me back. He gets there and he called me and said, Coach, he's ready to come. I said, all right, you stay right there. I'll take care of your classes. On Monday morning, I'm going to call the regional director to make sure that this is good. He said, because he had told me, he said, now there's a catch. He enrolled at Northwood Institute today or Friday. But they don't have basketball. And I said, well, that shouldn't be a problem. It just doesn't make sense if they don't even play basketball. So I called the regional director, who was at Martin College, which was our rivalry, who had beaten 2 years in a row. So I knew when it was all, he said, no, you can't do that. Blah, 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 blah. He'd have to sit out. The bottom line is, if we'd have been a day earlier before he enrolled, Larry Bird would have come to Cumberland College. And I don't know what direction my life would have taken place, but that kid from French Lick, Indiana, graduated with me and went to Indiana State, and he was the point guard, and guess who he took with him that time? Larry Bird. And they played Magic Johnson for the NCAA championship. But I've been blessed. I always wondered, what would my life have been like if I'd have coached Larry Bird? I don't know.
Well,
it was
you won 906 games, Coach,
without him.
So I feel like you and he both did pretty good.
Well, I appreciate that. I've had, bottom line is, I've had good players, and I've had great coaches, and it's been a wonderful journey. And every place I've gone, I've loved, from going from Clemson to Auburn, and great wins, tough losses, great experience, seen the highs, seen the lows, but I've lived a blessed life.
Well, as a kid growing up in the Birmingham area, you were the coach at Auburn when I was in high school, and so I mean I remember those years so vividly. You had such great basketball teams. It was a lot of fun to watch, and even Alabama had some really good teams with Coach Godfrey. You guys had some fantastic battles, and I enjoyed watching it. I will say this: between the three of us, we've got 5 Halls of Fame between the three of us. You've got 4 and Mo's got 1. So between the three of us, we got 5.
Well,
that's pretty good.
I'm certainly going to defer to Coach Ellis on that front. But again, successful everywhere he's been. Again, 900+ wins at Cumberland, South Alabama, Clemson, Auburn, and Coastal. And Coach, 16 years at Coastal Carolina. I mean, what What was that like for you?
Well, I'd been through the Power Fives. And I went into television. I was doing Fox, ESPN, had a show with College Sport South with several guys in Atlanta that I did once a week during basketball. And I was liking it, but I had just missed basketball. Danny Ford, who was the football coach at Clemson, you guys remember him? He won a national championship back in '81. He gives me a call and he says, Cliff, he says, I'm a good friend of mine is chairman of the board at Coastal Carolina. And I know how much you liked Myrtle Beach when you were down here. And he said, I wondered if you would be interested in Coastal Carolina. Well, I've always been about building, you know, Cumberland, build, South Alabama, build, Clemson, build, Auburn, build. Coastal Carolina had the second worst arena rated in the nation, Division I. And so I called so anyway, I said, yeah, if you want to do it, go do it. This is a challenge. Go do it. We got beat the first couple of years, and then all of a sudden it took off, and we got in the top 25, and we got to the NCAA tournament, and just had a great run. And I got out because of the transfer portal and NIL, but we had good team, but it was good, but it was cause of Danny Ford, and then the board member jumped in, and I went and I said, okay, the three things I always ask: what am I doing? It's Division I. That's good enough. Where am I doing it? Myrtle Beach. Well, you can check that because I was raised near Panama City in Destin, Florida. So you check that. Then the third thing is, who am I doing it with? And so I told them, I said, now I've got to meet with your people because you got to be committed. If you're not committed, this is not going to work. And they were committed. We built an arena. We brought in a good friend of mine, speaking of Alabama, was with Gene Bartow. You remember Gene at UAB? Mm-hmm. He was the sports information director for Gene. His name was Pete Dirtzes. And he was number 2 at ESPN. In the San Juan shootout, which was nationally televised on ESPN, was going to be in San Juan. Well, the hurricane that came just a few years ago, that wiped out San Juan. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Wiped it out. So they didn't have a place to play. And he calls me in a panic. And he says, I've got to find a place to play. And Myrtle Beach might be the location. I said, well, we'll fix this. So I went to the Chamber of Commerce, went to the guy there, and I talked about the economic impact, the AD. I got them together, and I said, put it together. And now the Myrtle Beach Invitational is 3 days in November, ESPN, every game on Coastal Carolina's campus. I mean, you'll see it. And Baylor's been there, Mississippi State, but it's a big tournament. And then it was so successful. Pete calls me back and he says, can we do a football bowl there? I said, we'll put you in. So anyway, so I brought the Myrtle Beach Invitation and the Myrtle Beach Football Bowl that is there to Myrtle Beach. And so a lot of things have been accomplished. Their baseball team won the college national championship. Football's now rolling. But I'm 78 now. The NIL and transfer portal is too much for me. And so I'm writing a book on it. It's going to be called Life's a Dance. It's going to be a while before it comes out, but I'm writing a book on this entire journey from the time that I started as a junior high school coach until this time where I'm at now. So it's a new time in my life, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter.
Well, Coach, will there be a chapter in that book on your recording career?
Yes, because people want to know how I became a rock and roll singer to a college basketball coach. And this is what the book's about. How do you make this journey? Well, there's no question that my creator had a lot to do with this. So I always say that I'm a co-creator. I'm his co-captain. All right. I'm his co-captain because he's put me in positions. But I tell people, and I told the Cumberland basketball team, he's got the other team too. So he's not going, I hear people say, well, I just give God all the glory. He helped me score that touchdown. Well, what about that team over there? I mean, did he turn on them? He doesn't turn on them. But what he does is give you an opportunity to do what he gives you the talent to do. And he said, okay, game's on, Cliff. I'm not putting that ball in the basket, because if he would put it in the basket, I'd had a chance to go to the Final Four. UConn beats me in the last second in the Sweet 16 in 1990. And I'm ahead with 1.3 seconds to go. Why didn't you make him miss that? Well, maybe. So anyway, I've got my feelings about that, but I do know that my faith is strong. Although sometimes you may not see it because my foul language may pop up a few times here and there when I get mad at the official or something. But anyway, I know that I've been given an opportunity, and I am a co-creator. He's the creator because I like to create things. I do, and he's given me the opportunity to create. And right now I'm creating ideas. I'm creating ideas. I got ideas. This, that, and I'm using my experience. And I'm going to give it to Cumberland. I'm going to give it to South Alabama, give it to Auburn, give it to Clemson. Texas A&M's called me. Other people have called me, and they can either bite it or throw it in the trash. I mean, it's just thoughts, ideas. You can either take it and run with it. I think it works, but it's not my call. But I think some of these ideas are sound, and I just want to help. That's all I want to do.
Coach Cliff Ellis being honored tonight during halftime of Cumberland University's basketball game. Be sure and get over there and see that and see him and congratulate him as we do. Coach, we appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it. It's good.
Thanks.
Now I see Natchez. Is that Natchez, Mississippi?
No, sir. This is Natchez High School. It was the black high school in Franklin, Tennessee, pre-integration.
I got you.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you, sir.
I like it. I like it.
All right.
We greatly appreciate your time, Coach.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Good luck. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Sir.
Yeah.
All right. We'll take a quick break in just a minute, but first we got to hand out the hardware.
You want to take a break and then hand out the hardware when we come back?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's hand out the hardware because we're going to talk about AP Top 10 as well. So high schools right after this on Main Street Sports Today. Stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you. No matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao alongside Mo Patton. Before we go any further, I want to add to our rundown because we didn't mention Cumberland's game tonight. So wanted to make sure that we get in. It is a doubleheader tonight as the Phoenix, I almost called them the Flames, take on Bethel.
Ooh.
Yeah, should be good. Also, Fisk is down at Talladega. Trevecca has a trip to Findlay. And I don't think UT Southern's playing because they played last night, so we need to give you that score. As the men defeated Life 78-71 to continue their roll.
Anytime you can beat Life,
Exactly.
it's a good thing.
And the women lost 73-42. So just wanted to add that to what we missed in the rundown earlier.
So the UT Southern women took a beating from Life then, huh?
They did, in fact. Okay, let's get into handing out some hardware.
Let's do.
And we have the Custom Stone Handlers End-to-Win Life Team of the Week.
Columbia Academy's bowling team placed second in the state in Division II last week. They defeated Boyd Buchanan in the state quarterfinals over at Smyrna Bowling Center, then got past Pope Prep 14-13 in Friday's semifinals before falling 22-5 to Friendship Christian in the finals. So they are our Custom Stone Handlers Team of the Week. The Keglers from Columbia Academy.
All right. The MTBJ Athletes of the Week.
And there are two.
There are two athletes.
There are two athletes this week. Alex Davis, speaking of bowling, won the Division I state championship by 4 pins over Stewart's Creek freshman Mateo Quintero in the finals. Alex had the best score coming out of the semifinals. And so in the 6-man ladder match, he was at the top of the ladder. So he got to sit there and wait while everybody else came to him. And when his time came, he was ready.
No rust, just rest.
Just rest. There you go. So yeah, Alex is the 5th Columbia Central individual state champion in bowling. So continuing a long tradition for the Lions with that victory. And he is one of our Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Athletes of the Week, along with Columbia Academy's sophomore Haley Collins, who averaged 20.7 points and hit 9 threes in 3 games for the Lady Bulldogs last week, had 22 points, 3 threes in their 56-53 win over Franklin Road Academy. Yeah, over Franklin Road Academy. So nice week for Ms. Collins and the Lady Bulldogs. So congratulations to both Alex and Haley and the Columbia Academy bowling teams.
Quick look at the top 10 in the AP polls this week. In Class 4A, local schools, Siegel at 4, Ravenwood at 5, Franklin at 8, Independence still sliding in at number 10. Now, after they just beat number 5 Ravenwood last night, that might change here soon. Mm-hmm. Franklin being behind Ravenwood even after they beat them before these were voted on is interesting. But hey, who am I? What do I know? In Class 3A?
In Class 3A, Fulton is atop that poll, followed by Fayette, where the Wildcats of Lawrence County at number 3, Dyer County, Bolivar Central, Upperman, Munford, Chester County, Ridgeway, and David Crockett round out the top 10 in boys 3A. In Division 1, Class 2A.
Okay.
Yes.
I just kind of trying to figure out how Lawrence County dropped all the way out.
No, Lawrence County is 3.
Oh, they're in between 2 ads. And I guess I scrolled right past them. Okay, I'm sorry. And I was, I guess, not listening. Anyway,
no, they
continue.
are number 3. In 2A, Douglas leads the pack, followed by Gatlinburg, Pittman, South Green, and Tyner, who are tied at 3. Grundy County is 5. Kingston, Westmoreland, Austin East, Camden is 9. Summertown is 10. Summertown at 17 and 6. I'll be interested to see, following their 12-point loss Tuesday night to Loretto, what impact that has.
I don't know how Loretto is not ranked, but okay. In Class A, Santa Fe stays atop that poll for this week. They did fall to what was no longer, but was a top 10 team recently in Richland. Richland may find themselves back in.
You would think.
Harriman follows Santa Fe, Union City, Pickett County, Middleton, Houston County, University, we assume Johnson City, Humboldt College, Chattanooga Preparatory, and Eagleville rolling in there.
Eagleville actually slipped from 7th to 10th this week. In D2, Class 2A, it's Briarcrest, Pope Prep, Brentwood Academy, Knoxville Webb, and Baylor. In D2A, it's Silverdale, Battleground Academy, First Assembly Christian, Providence Christian, and Good Pasture. Now, Columbia Academy beat Battleground Academy earlier this week.
And Providence Christian last week.
So
one would think.
Who knows?
On the girls' side, Bradley Central gets all 10 first-place votes. They're 20-1 on the year, followed by Bearden and Clarksville, Sevier County, Coffee County.
Undefeated Clarksville.
Undefeated Clarksville with Amari Berry and everything. So I don't know. They did move up a spot, though. Sevier County at 4, Coffee County at 5, Cookeville, Brentwood, Campbell County, Lebanon at number 9, sneaking in after being not ranked last week. And then Morristown East rounds it out.
I assume that Lebanon snuck in place of Columbia Central, which fell out.
Correct.
In 3A, it's White County, Maryville Heritage, Upperman, David Crockett, Dyersburg, Chester County, Northview, Signal Mountain, Cumberland County, and at 10, Clinton and Crockett County are tied. In 2A, you've got McMinn Central at the top of the poll, followed by Gibson County, Gatlinburg, Pittman, Loretto coming in at number 4 with a first-place vote, Huntington 5, Cheatham County at 6, Westview, Summertown at 8, York Institute, and Cannon County rounding out the top 10.
In Class A down in Waynesboro, Wayne County takes the top spot. They're followed by Cloudland and Pickett County at number 2. Richland comes in at number 4. They're tied with Moore County. Sunbright at 6, Sale Creek, Middle College, North Green, and Clark Range round out the top 10.
D2 Class 2A has Knoxville Catholic, Father Ryan, Hutchison out of Memphis, Knoxville Webb, and Chattanooga Christian. Lipscomb Academy and Ensworth are each receiving votes, so I guess they are number 6 and 7 in the top 5. In D2A, you've got Silverdale, Providence Christian, which actually earned more first-place votes than Silverdale. Silverdale is 1, Providence Christian is 2. Good Pastures 3, the King's Academy is 4, and University School of Jackson is 5. Those are your AP top 10 or top 5 polls for this week.
Take a quick break. When we come back, Terry McCormick joins us right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Y'all stick around.
shoots, and he scores!
Since 1975, Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic has treated the orthopedic needs of Middle Tennessee residents. The trained physicians provide surgical options and minimally invasive options to treat all orthopedic needs. The walk-in clinic, OrthoQuick, helps you bypass the ER while treating sports injuries and acute needs Monday through Saturday. Visit MTBJ online at mtbj.net or on social media at Mid-Tennessee Bone Joint Clinic. Time now for your Daily Titans update with Terry McCormick. Terry, welcome in. We have some news.
We do. A couple of coaching hires on Brian Callahan's staff. Last night, he secured the services of defensive coordinator Denard Wilson, who we have talked about on this show a couple of times as being one of the prime candidates. So he is, to my knowledge, has been a defensive backs coach for most of his career. This is his first time as play caller on the defensive side of the ball. So you're going to have a first-time offensive play caller in Brian Callahan and a first-time defensive play caller in Denard Wilson. So that's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I guess the Titans are fully embracing what we would consider a revamp and a rebuild and an overhaul as they go forward here in trying to get the pieces in place. And then the other guy that they have hired, according to Cameron Wolf of NFL Network, Tyke Tolbert is going to be the receivers coach. Mo, I don't think he's related to former Sounds outfielder Tyke Redmond, but hopefully he will be, doing a fine job coaching the receivers.
Is his nickname Little? Little Tyke?
Little Tyke. Wow, you're bad. You're bad. That's a nice start, and I hope that kind of sets some folks at ease that we've now started to formulate a coaching staff. With those two guys out of the way, Terry, or those two positions out of the way, what do you feel like is the most pivotal position for Brian Callahan to fill at this point?
Well, I go back to what we talked about from the minute he got hired, and that's, other than his coordinators, he's still got to find an offensive coordinator, is the offensive line coach. And a lot of people, the talk is kind of quieted down, but still some speculation maybe that his dad might come in, and maybe that's why the OC title remains available. He could give him that and then also be the offensive line coach, perhaps. It's going to be interesting to see the process as we go forward to see how quickly those are filled. And obviously, a couple of guys left. One, Terrell Williams, who we had talked about maybe being possibly retained. He is instead going to Detroit to be the defensive line coach for the Lions. So it wouldn't shock me to see Danico Autry follow him up there, since Danico is a free agent, and that would give him the chance to play for a ring next season if he so desires.
Well, I'll say this. If Twitter reactions from most of media folks are to be believed, Brian Callahan got two of the most coveted people on the lists to join his staff, both with Talbert and Denard. So, I mean, hey, people want to come here, man.
Well, I mean, I'll admit I don't know a lot about Tolbert other than he and Callahan coached together with the Broncos for a couple of years when Peyton Manning was there. And but from all that I have been able to ascertain, both reading stuff and, what little I've talked to some sources and all, people are really excited about bringing Denard Wilson on board to be the defensive coordinator. So they say he's a really sound football coach, and that I think a lot of people are expecting that he'll do a really good job in running this defense.
That's great. Well, we will look forward to what's next. And in the meantime, Terry, tell us about Zen Sports.
The new sports betting app exclusively in Tennessee the last few months, and I'm excited to share with you some big news. Now, when you sign up for a Zen Sports account, you will receive up to a $1,000 no-danger first wager. That's right. When you place your first bet in Zen Sports with up to plus 500 odds, you can be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to a $1,000 maximum within 24 hours if the bet loses. And there's more good news. Zen Sports is rolling out its brand new VIP rewards program. This new VIP rewards program will allow top-tier customers to earn more bonuses, comps, and perks. The VIP program is by invite only, so if you feel your Zen Sports play qualifies for VIP consideration, please check out the program details and apply at zensports.com/VIP. No other sportsbook will offer you a premier sports betting experience with 24/7 top-tier customer support and faster withdrawals than Zen Sports. So what are you waiting for? Get going and download their app at zensports.com today. Zen Sports, betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and older and in Tennessee to bet.
Smiles. These are the healthy smiles of real Delta Dental members. Folks with access to the nation's largest network of dentists and low-deductible plans with 100% preventive care coverage, all backed by over 65 years of expertise. Go online or give us a call to learn about affordable individual plans that meet your needs. 1-855-844-0445.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Witness more than 1,000 handcrafted Chinese lanterns featuring brand new designs, including towering mythical beasts, a life-sized Santa's workshop, and a 100-foot-long dragon. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
We're back on this Throwback Thursday, and Mo, this throwback interview takes us back to July of last year, a real throwback, but in the news in the last week, it has come out that Nolensville Little League coach Randy Huth is no longer the coach in the 12-year-old organization that has made 3 trips now to the Little League World Series.
3 straight.
3 consecutive trips.
I don't think it had ever happened before, right?
As he says in the interview, no, it has not happened. And so we wanted to kind of give you guys a look back at what he said ahead of even the district tournament last year here in Columbia. And I guess, what he felt about this past year's team and their level of camaraderie, and because there are some thoughts and ideas being put out on social media as to why this happened.
His statement,
and this might help.
Yeah, he says that the league president informed him he cannot coach this year because multiple parents from the 2023 team called him and told him that I treated their kids unfairly and they didn't feel like the team was as close as years in the past. Frankly, I am shocked and incredibly sad. If you are one of those parents, all I can do is apologize that you feel that way. There are very few things in this world that I truly love, and one of those is Little League Baseball. To have that taken away rips my heart out. So I think
that comes out in this interview. So let's take a look at it from July 25th. Randy Huth. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, coming to you live from the Lee Company studio here in Columbia. And we are glad to have you guys with us as we are talking about all the news in the world of sports, from preteens to pros. We have to
New
change
catch
it
line.
up.
Yeah.
So you have to change it up a little bit, but looking forward to this next conversation because this guy was in our neck of the woods for about a week and a half.
Probably felt like longer making that drive. Trust
Yeah,
me, as I make it every day. So
it's rough. It's rough. But we are joined now by Nolensville Little League coach Randy. Is it Randy Huth or Huth?
Huth. And the thing about it, when you talk about going 3 years in a row, this is a 12U tournament.
Yeah.
So you're basically going with 3 different groups of kids. I mean, there's not a whole lot of carryover. I do think Nash Carter played last year for you guys and is back this time, but not a whole lot of continuation from 2021 to this year.
That's right. So in 21, we went to the World Series, and in 22, we had 2 kids from that team that came back in 22. And then last year, we had Nash Carter and Grayson May, which they're both back this year. So we have 2 returning players. So that means you got 10 new guys each time.
Not necessarily 10 new guys, but we'll get to that in a minute.
9 new guys and 1 girl.
But go ahead, continue.
Yeah. So, every year you get a different group of kids, and you got to figure out what makes them tick and how you can get them to come together as a team. And that's kind of my deal that I've been able to do. And that's what, kind of, as a coach, that's kind of what my specialty is I'm not a big yelling rah-rah guy. I'm more, a listener, and my whole thing is about strategy and getting guys to come together and play at their best at the best moments. And I've been able to do that. And it's tough. It's a new challenge every single year because you get those new kids. But it's also something that, that's my passion, and I just love it.
Now, do you coach a team like in the league?
Yeah, you have to. You got to coach a regular season team. So
you have a regular season team, so you do have at least some degree of familiarity with these kids before they get to you at the all-star level, and
sure,
that's obviously important. And so, how does that work for you as someone who doesn't necessarily? I mean, do you have a kid on the team, or you're just kind of out there helping these kids coach? How does that work for you?
I'm just a volunteer. So my dad was a volunteer for Little League for 45 years before he passed away in 2018. And it's something that was his passion, and he carried it on to me. So the reason that I coach is to continue on his legacy. In my opinion, he was the greatest Little League coach of all time. So my goal is to continue on his legacy. And that's what I do. That's the reason I'm out there, to coach these kids. There's nothing I would rather be doing than helping mold these young people and learn the game of baseball as well as life lessons.
Well, and it's interesting because you talk about, you said it just a minute ago, kids wanting to play Little League. It's not nowadays. It's very rare that kids want to play in their community because they're playing travel ball, or they're traveling all over the Southeast or the country to play in these tournaments, these weekend tournaments. But you guys have found a way to kind of make Nolensville the premier place to play. You don't want or have to play in those big tournaments in travel ball because it's just as good here.
Yeah, I mean we're Little League as a whole in the country, across the country, is having an issue with people leaving the rec leagues and going to travel ball. Well, we don't have that problem. We have kids doing the opposite, going from travel ball back to rec leagues that they might have played when they were 6 or 7 years old and haven't played in a few years. Now they're coming back to the rec league. So it's really cool to see. It's a great community. People are really behind it. We embrace those kids coming back. We don't shun them away and be like, well, you left us, you can't come back. Yeah. No. We want you here. We're going to embrace you. And if you play travel ball, that's okay. That's all right. We don't mind. We're going to embrace you in our rec league.
Randy Huth, Nolensville 12U Little League coach, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Randy, you talk about those kids that have gone off and played travel ball and are coming back. Is it the lure, excuse me, is it the lure of, possibly playing for a Little League World Series berth that's kind of, even if you all aren't necessarily selling that per se, is that what's drawing kids back to your league with the success that you all have had?
Well, every kid that straps on a uniform from that time they're 4 or 5 years old watches the Little League World Series on TV, and they wish that they could be a part of that. Well, for most kids, that's just a dream that can never happen. They have zero chance of making it there. There's 6,500 Little Leagues out there, and you got to be in the top 10 of them to get there. So, like, for most kids, that's a far-fetched dream. But for kids that live in our boundaries and are 12 years old, it's a real dream. Like, it can really come true because we've done it. We've been to the World Series 4 times in the past 10 years. We've won the state tournament 4 out of the last 5 years. So we've been to the region 4 out of the last 5 years. So that means we played on ESPN 4 years in the last 5, which is, kids see that. They see kids their age or kids a little older playing on ESPN. They're like, wait a minute. It's not just a dream. It can be real playing here. And I can go play for Coach Randy, and maybe have a chance to go to a Little League World Series. So I think that's a lot of it, is people are excited for that opportunity. But it's also that our community has embraced us so much, and it is from a public perspective, it's grown and grown and grown. People are excited about Little League. Like, people we don't even know come to our games. People travel to Columbia that we have no relation to those kids. They just see the N on our hat and the Nolensville across our chest, and they want to be a part of it. And that's been a huge part of our growth and success.
You mentioned your boundaries, and I'm not familiar enough with, Little League baseball in this area to know what's where and that kind of thing. What are Nolensville's boundaries? Because I know there's also Goodlettsville. I know there's Columbia. Where do you all draw your players from?
Yeah, so your Little League boundaries, they're given to you by Little League International, and they try to make things as similar as possible so that it's a competitive, equal balance, so that teams this league and this league can be competitively balanced. Our boundaries are all of Nolensville, a portion of Franklin, and a portion of Brentwood. Just like Columbia is all of Columbia, part of Hole and Wall, part of Lewisburg, and it has a little bit reach there, here and there. Goodlettsville's the same. It goes all the way up to White House, and then includes Goodlettsville and Hendersonville. Our boundaries, so you have to live or go to school inside the boundaries in order to play at the league.
Okay, so basically Williamson County then for you.
Most of Williamson County, yeah.
Okay, all right. Cool. Who else is in Williamson County other than you all then, if you said most of Williamson County?
We're the only Little League that's in Williamson County. It's called Dead Area, that doesn't have a league, that's not assigned to it. There's space out there and that's what the other part of Franklin, the other part of Brentwood, up into Antioch, there is no Little League that has those boundaries at all. So those kids just can't play Little League.
Okay.
That's unfortunate.
Unfortunate. It is. Now, there are some waivers that kids can get to play, and they can come play in the regular season. However, they're not eligible to play in the postseason. So you can live outside the boundaries, get a waiver to play for the regular season, but you can't play in the postseason.
Gotcha.
I saw a picture on social media last week. I guess you guys have a vehicle that had a Nolo Boys sticker on one of the windows, and now it says Nolo Boys and Stella.
That's right. So that was a really cool thing. So there are some guys that were parents for our last year's team got us that van this year. So we actually have 2 Sprinter vans. They say Nolo Boys and Stella, because we don't want to leave her out.
Talk about Stella Weaver.
She's special. Yes, she is a girl, but she's also a baseball player, and people gotta see that. If you've ever seen her play, she's not just a publicity stunt. I've never had a girl on my team before. It's the first time. And she's special. You know, she's 5'8", so she's the biggest kid on the team. She can fly running. She hit the first home run on our team this year. First home run in our very first game. She also can pitch, and she throws nearly 70 miles an hour, which that's kind of like 70 is like the number when you're 12. You want to throw 70. Guys that throw above that are elite, and she throws close to 70 miles an hour as a pitcher. So, although yes, she's a girl, she can play. Man, she's good. She's a good player. You're going to see her. She's going to be the starting pitcher in the region of our first game too,
which will be on. Hang on,
August
I've got the record here on August 3rd.
August 3rd. It's at 3 p.m.
Okay, 3 p.m. Central Time, 4 Eastern, on ESPN Plus against the Alabama State champ. You know who that is?
Yeah, it's CUSA is the Little League. This is their first year in Little League, so they haven't ever played in this tournament before. But we have actually played Alabama the first game of the last 2 years. So this is the third time we will face Alabama in our first game. And crazy enough, in 21 we threw a no-hitter against them. In 22 we threw a no-hitter against them. So now Stella's going to start against them in the third year. So she's got some big shoes to fill.
No pressure there for Stella, right?
That's right. No pressure. You know?
Yeah. Okay.
I will tell you, after that game, Stella Weaver is going to be a celebrity across the country. She's going to be on the cover of a Wheatie Box because she's going to show everybody what she can do. And the only comparison out there to what she is and what she does is Monet Davis from the 2014 World Series pitching for Pennsylvania. And she's the closest thing to that. Monet Davis is an amazing. I've met her many times. She's just a super athlete. And she was crazy good when she was a little leaguer, but Stella is that good. Stella actually hits better than Monet Davis, though.
What grade will Stella be in this fall?
Should be in 7th grade.
Okay.
Yeah, all of our kids will be 7th graders except for one. Gideon Shepler. He'll be a 6th grader.
Okay. I don't want to get too sidetracked, and I don't want to make one kid bigger than everybody else. But at some point, she's going to have a decision to make, isn't she?
Sure.
How far can she go in baseball?
Typically, it's harder for girls to move when you leave the transition from 12 to 13. You got to go from the small field to the big field, and usually girls just aren't. They're still growing. They're not strong enough or big enough to make that transition. So then they start playing softball. Well, Stella's different because she's 5'8". She is really strong. She is a big athlete. So she can make that transition. So it'll be interesting to see. She does play middle school softball, but it would be really interesting to see if she decided to give it a go in the baseball world because she has all of the attributes that you would want a kid to have. So I don't see any reason why she doesn't do it. It'll just depend on what her preference is.
Randy Huth, Nolensville 12U Little League baseball coach, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. You mentioned you guys are playing Alabama to open the Southeast Regional next week for the third straight year. Kind of sounds like the blind draw in Tennessee high school wrestling, the blind draw. How does that happen?
Man, I have no idea. It's a lottery, and the way they do it, I haven't seen it. I don't know.
Seems like they did one lottery and just kept it going.
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily an issue for you guys. It may be for Alabama, though.
I believe it's a bad draw for Alabama, and it's a good draw for us.
Well, and this is interesting because you mentioned this the first year that CUSA's ever had, because the last 2 years have just been Silicaga's the only team in the entire state.
Yeah, and Silicaga's not there this year.
So Silicaga wasn't even in it this year. They were like, what?
I think they had enough.
This isn't going to work for us.
Up with this, we will not put.
They just dipped out.
So CUSA there were two leagues. Birmingham and CUSA ended up winning in the
pretty handily.
In the state championship game. They won it big time. And they're a really young team. CUSA is young. They got 5 11-year-olds on their team of their 12. So that's really young. I don't have any 11-year-olds, so I have all 12s. So they're a really young team. They're a new league. I love what they're doing down there. They're doing some good stuff. They're trying to grow Little League in their community. And I really love what they're doing, but I don't think it's a really good draw for them to get us in the first game.
So you say you've got nothing but 12. So how many of these kids that you have will be back for you next year?
None of them.
None. So you'll be all new next year.
I won't have any back next year. And now that the part of that reason is for the first time ever, our league, there is an 11U tournament as well. And we never had enough 11-year-olds in our league to make an 11U team. This year we did. So it's the first time we ever had an 11U team as well. So I didn't poach any of those kids so that they could be as strong as possible. I could have taken some 11-year-olds, but I chose not to.
Okay. In addition to the Tennessee-Alabama game that will be played at 3 on ESPN Plus next Thursday, August 3rd, that tournament opens in Warner Robins with North Carolina and Florida. That's a 9 o'clock start, followed by Virginia and South Carolina at 12 noon. And the nightcap at 6 will be West Virginia and Georgia. Randy, you guys played your championship game last Thursday, the 20th.
Yeah.
You don't play again until next Thursday. Speaking as an Atlanta Braves fan, that's a lot of time off. What have y'all done? What are y'all doing between last Thursday and next Thursday?
So that's always the difficult part of this tournament is that the Little League tournament, it's the hardest youth sports event to get to the pinnacle of in all of youth sports, but it's also the longest. It's 6 months long from the time you start to the time you end. So this is always an issue because you have so many teams from other parts of the world that are getting to the same point. The tournaments are all spread out, so you get these long days in between playing one tournament to the next tournament, and that's always a struggle. Is trying to keep 12-year-olds focused on baseball when they have 2 weeks off or 10 days off or whatever it may be. For some leagues, it might be 1 day, but for us, it's 2 weeks. So you just never know. I think all the teams in the Southeast are determined now, as of yesterday, I believe. So they will all have similar breaks to us. They'll all have the next 10 days off going into it. So we all have the same exact issue. So trying to keep these kids focused is difficult. But we do things like we go out as a team. We do fun events as a team. During the state tournament, we even rented a cabin. So there was just the players and the coaches in a cabin together by ourselves for that entire state tournament. So we create a really good community with these kids so that they want to be around each other, and that helps feed the focus towards baseball.
It's pretty awesome. Coach Randy Huth here of Nolensville Little League Baseball with us on Main Street Sports Today. Coach, thanks for taking some time. Good luck.
No, I appreciate it, man. This is
see
great.
You guys on national TV once again.
Dude, we love what you do. Thank you so much for supporting us and having me on. We appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get to come back on in a month or two and be talking about some championships.
Yeah, we certainly hope so.
Absolutely.
Well, sign me up. If we win, I will be right here.
Sounds good, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's little Braves chatter. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. If Danny White has them.
Welcome back in. It's Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton on this Thursday. And man, that was interesting to kind of get an idea, to go back to listen to him talk about how much of a camaraderie they did have.
Mm-hmm.
And so
there are questions, and most of them will go unanswered.
Yep.
Because
we'll never know.
At the end of the day, it's Little League Baseball.
It is, but it's also Nolensville on a national scale, on a national level, on an annual basis.
The first United States Little League team to make 3 consecutive World Series appearances, or Little League program, since they are, as he put it, 3 different teams basically.
Right.
And this 2024 team would have no one on it from the 2023 team, as he mentioned during that throwback segment. So there's, like I said, a lot of questions.
So who cares what those parents thought? That's my question. Anyway,
yeah,
there is that. Before we get to Dave Hooker, who is standing by, we have a new, not segment, but a new spot.
Yeah. It's February 1st. It's the beginning of Black History Month. I think we'd be, you checked it.
To make sure it's February 1st.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think we'd be remiss to not recognize it. Coach Ellis took note of my hoodie here in the Coach's Corner segment. Natchez High School was one of the pre-integration all-black high schools. We've got Carver Smith. They celebrated here in Columbia back in November, and I just thought that it would be good if we could mention a Black history factoid from time to time here over the next few weeks. And one of those was, you've heard about the first Major League Baseball game that was played under the lights as Cincinnati hosted Philadelphia at Crosley Field in May of 1935. Well, the Kansas City Monarchs of the Negro Leagues did it 5 years before. Oddly enough, on my birth date, not birthday.
Wow.
Yeah. April 28th, 1930, Kansas City played a night game after their owner, J.L. Wilkinson, had bought a set of portable generator light towers.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So eventually they weren't just doing it at home, but they were carrying those light towers and playing night games.
Oh, that's smart.
On the road as well, opening up a new revenue stream, as they like to call it these days, because they had been, obviously limited to playing during the day. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So
pretty cool little fact there.
We'll try to continue to come up with those as we go through the month of February. So stay tuned.
All right, let's go now to the phone line where Dave he's on the hook.
He is on the hook.
And
on the hook, on the line.
He's on the hook for a heck of a segment, because Danny White, Dondi Plowman, and the rest of Tennessee's everything have gone scorched earth on the NCAA. And Dave, welcome into the show. It has been a wild ride for a couple of days, hasn't it?
Has been. It's been, I think it's been a wild ride for about 40 years as you continue to inch towards this super conference. And I thought that what Tennessee did, we didn't know that they would have a major hand in making that happen. But with what Tennessee did, I think we're seeing that move faster and faster and faster. In the 80s, when individual teams gave up television rights to conferences, then that's when it kind of started with the realignment. But everything moved so slow in college football in the 80s and 90s and to some extent the 2000s. Now I think we're really on the verge, guys, of having a mega conference, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're having a serious conversation about that within the next 18 months to 2 years.
Yeah, that's kind of what a lot of people think is the end result here. But tell me do you feel like Tennessee has legs to stand on here? I mean, or is it just, hey, we know we cheated, but you didn't tell us we couldn't cheat, so.
They've got complete legs to stand on, and they wouldn't have done so without consulting with their own legal counsel. I've had my dealings with. They wouldn't do so without consulting with the SEC. And yes, the courts have already ruled that you can't limit an athlete's ability to profit off their name, image, and likeness. So to say, and there could be other things out there, but if we're just dealing with, let's say Nico and the plane trip that he took from California to Knoxville. Okay, well, I don't know about you guys, but I've interviewed some people in my day, and I've been interviewed, and I've been flown out there. So how can you possibly tell someone that they can't accept a flight to go be interviewed, essentially, which is what that is, by a potential employer? To me, that is anti-American. That's anti-constitutional. It is not going to stand up in court. There's no doubt about it. They've already ruled in that situation. I think that Tennessee is just forcing their hand, and good for them, because what this will result into, as I was alluding to earlier, there are going to be no rules, 0 rules. And that means that there's going to be about 30 to 36 teams that are going to have the finances to play with no rules. And the mega conference, super conference will kind of sort itself out. Tennessee is going to be one of those teams. And I think that they just happen to be in a situation where 6 months ago they were called an exemplary program in the way they dealt with the NCAA, and now they're back under investigation again. I think that's a coincidence, but somebody was going to eventually finish this thing off, and this is stepping on the throat of the NCAA. I'm not even sure if they'll exist in 5 years.
Standing on the throat of the NCAA. I like the sound of that, because it kind of feels like the NCAA deserves it at this point. Dave, we've mentioned. I'm sure we've mentioned.
You're probably like me, though. I side on the players, and the players aren't. They were never poor, but some were, and some had a hope that their buddies had enough extra cash from their parents to pick up a little bit more meat at the grocery store so they could have cookouts on a Sunday when the training table closed at 11 o'clock on a Sunday. So, yeah, there are situations you can't take a girl out to a date because you didn't have the money. So I'm going to side on the players until I'm blue in the face or somebody proves me wrong. So I don't care if you're flying a kid out. If it's Lane Kiffin's son and you want to fly him to Tennessee to take a look at him, and he's 14 years old, then he should have every right to do so.
Agreed. It's really kind of bothersome to me to hear folks say, well, coaches are leaving the profession because they don't want to deal with, excuse me, with NIL and the transfer portal and that kind of thing. They didn't mind the multi-million-dollar contracts, though, that they were getting before the players were actually being treated not equitably necessarily, just fairly relative to what they were providing is kind of my feeling. Now, I do feel like maybe it needs tweaking. I get that, but fix it. But this whole people are leaving it, it's the ruination of the sport and that kind of thing. I'm just having a tough time with, like you said.
Yeah, and I agree with all of that. And yeah, tweaking the calendar is a little bit ridiculous on the coaches. I agree with that. But how funny is this? This is how incredibly dumb the NCAA is. The market is settling, and I work with Cooper Mays and Jacob Warren with NIL agreement, so I just want to be full disclosure there. But I knew I didn't really know what they were worth, and I don't think they did either. But the market's settling itself out, and the market now is settling itself out where you better what? You better pay your current players that you know are good, or pay transfer portal players to come in and give you a boost. The model is not going to settle out to pay the high school prospects. You better keep doing that on your own the old-fashioned way. And Nico might have gotten $2 million a year, and I've been told by somebody that saw the contract that he did, but I don't think George McIntyre got promised $2 million a year. That was just good old-fashioned recruiting. So it's funny that the market's starting to settle itself out where NIL is not going to be as much of a recruiting inducement as we once thought, but now you have the NCAA leaking information that they're going after Tennessee, and Tennessee says, bully on that, I'm not going to put up with it. And it could be and I'm not exaggerating when I say that from people I talk to, I think it could be the end of the NCAA, or at least any influence they have over football whatsoever.
Dave Hooker, Off the Hook Sports, of course, and you can watch his show just about any time. Just go to OTH Sports Media on X, and you can absolutely see the show at any point. And Dave, you mentioned the calendar for coaches and all that. We'll get into that a little bit later, Mo, with the departure of Boston College's coach to Green Bay. But you know, in this particular instance, what we are hearing and what we're seeing here is that the collective did this thing on its own. And I know that Tennessee is the only, quote, client of this collective, but, you know, this collective is still not a booster of the school. They are simply a booster of the students at the school. Is that right?
Are we talking about Spire specifically?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, Spire said they were willing to fly Nico anywhere to look at schools, that they were representing him, not the University of Tennessee. Well, that's a load of horse manure. Okay.
Sure.
I mean, let's be real honest. They were bringing him to Tennessee because they wanted Tennessee to be better. So it is Spire's job, I think. Well, I think there were two phases. I think it was Spire's job to get that superstar quarterback that could change a program like we've seen happen before. I mean, the greatest example to me is Mike Vick turning Virginia Tech to a very respectable program to a national championship contender. That can change the way you're forever viewed if you're that type of special player. And I think Nico can be that. Do they take it to the next step? Virginia Tech couldn't, but I think Tennessee can. So that was, I think, step one. I think step two was last year assembling a strong transfer class with your NIL money. Well, on paper, they did that, but they had a lot of bust, which I think would lead people to question, and very fairly, Josh Heupel's talent evaluation. Well, here's the next step, third step of NIL. It's to pay Cooper Mays, John Campbell, Keenan Pilley to stay around another year partly because of this unique COVID situation that we're almost done with. So everybody has an extra year. So, I mean, that's phase 3 in building a program. Now, if you're hired as a school that needs talent, maybe you have to go through those phases. If you're Kalen DeBoer, maybe you skip right to phase 3 at Alabama, which is maintain what you've got. But I think that Tennessee was kind of climbing that ladder, and they're there now where their high school recruiting should be able to take care of itself. Kids know they're going to have something when they get on campus, but not necessarily $2 million a year.
Okay, because that I guess my point to that is, I know that Spire wants Tennessee to be better, but they don't donate directly to the university.
No. So, I mean, and that's where things get really, really shady, and not just for Spire, but for other collectives as well. So, we've all heard the horror stories about some charities that have CEOs that make $450,000 a year, and that 90% of the money you give goes to operational costs, which means it's basically just a business that donates a little bit of money to its charity. We've all heard that. I mean, that's possible. I don't think that it's I don't believe that it's 90-10 going to the athlete, as has been reported. I think that I think considerably more goes to the operational cost, and then but no, that, and then the other issue is what happens if you're asking a big booster for money in the NIL realm because you're trying to get a player because Josh Heupel, accidentally called and mentioned his name, which you're not supposed to do in Tennessee, but you can in Missouri because there's a different state law. You can sit there and negotiate if you're Eli Drinkwitz with the player in Missouri. But I think that there's times where the NIL and Spire and Tennessee's donations department are probably competing for the same dollar. But, as long as they're winning, there are plenty of dollars to go around. So I haven't heard of much headbutting, but I'm sure that'll happen at some point.
Okay. Well, and I guess that's kind of where the legality gets really, murky in that, is this a booster? Is it not a booster? How are they associated with the school? Are they associated with the school? Well, I mean, they're only associated with students at the school. So by proxy, it appears they're associated with the school. So I just think that's interesting. But I wonder if that's that legal. But that's the loophole that was never closed by the NCAA in the first place, which is why we're in this situation.
Okay, so are you asking, is Spire a booster or are they a third-party company?
Well, we know they're a third-party company, but they are funded by boosters essentially.
Right. And if you give, for instance, if I give $5 to the College of Communications, technically I'm a booster. So
Right.
There's a lot of ways. Technically, if you buy season tickets, you're a booster. So I'm sure that they probably are a booster in some shape, form, or fashion. But nowadays, kind of like all bets are off. So
right.
I don't know that part of it really matters.
But this is what the NCAA is alleging here, is that, well, we've never allowed boosters to be involved in paying players. Well, now this is what you're doing. Well, you didn't close that loophole when the loophole was obviously there from the beginning. I don't know.
Yeah, along those lines, maybe they need to get a license to be an NIL broker. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
I think that could be an easy fix for a lot of issues for these things. So I don't know, man. This is just if nothing else, though, the University of Tennessee has certainly gone guns blazing and feels very confident in their situation. Do you feel as confident in it as they do?
But I don't see how you could feel any more confident. NCAA. I mean, the NCAA's lost once in court. They're going to lose again. I'm sure that several schools, and not just in the SEC, back Tennessee and Virginia in this. I imagine every school in the ACC did, since every school wants out of the ACC except for the really terrible ones. So I don't think it's questionable. I think as a matter of fact, I think the NCAA settles in short term. Again, I mean, you think about this. This is rough math, but I do know that the NCAA's operating budget is about $80 million. The operating budget of every SEC school is about $2 billion combined, somewhere in that realm.
80 million is the retainer for the legal fees.
Yeah. So if Greg think you want to call around and say, hey, we need to get rid of these bunch of bozos who've almost destroyed college football in the past, can you chip in a little bit of cash? I mean, the SEC could raise as much as the entire operational budget that the NCAA has. I'm telling you, they're gone. I mean, it's the college football playoff. That group of people will run this new mega conference. And by what Tennessee did on Tuesday, it just moved up in my mind by at least 2 or 3 years.
Dave Hooker, Off the Hook Sports, at the Dave Hooker on Twitter, as well as at OTH Sports Media. Dave, as always, great stuff. We appreciate it.
Man, anytime you guys have fun. This is wild and woolly time in college football, for sure.
No doubt. Thanks, Dave.
See ya.
All right, let's keep it here for rapid fire reactions because we have plenty of rapid fire reactions to get to. And let's talk about Boston College head coach Jeff. Is it Hatley or Halfley? I think it's Halfley.
It is Halfley.
Okay.
Yes.
But it's Hatler. I was like, why does Hatley sound familiar?
No,
John Hatler.
No.
The voice of the Skyhawks is where I got that. But
no,
okay,
it is Halfley.
Jeff Halfley is headed to Green Bay to be their defensive coordinator. And Dave touched on it in this, that a lot of coaches are making that move to the NFL, in part due to NIL, in part due to the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Ellis even spoke to it during his segment a little bit ago about.
I mean, it just makes sense that these guys, if I have the opportunity to not have to deal with that, I'm not going to. I understand that. Now, there's not nearly as many opportunities. So Division I FBS coaches in Power 4 conferences, are still valuable jobs.
I like your new terminology there, Power 4.
Well, it's unfortunate, but
yeah, it is what it is.
The truth.
Yeah. I mean, I hate it for the reasons that I just mentioned. I mean, all of a sudden players are having some level of recompense and folks are just losing their minds.
But I think it's because it's the schedule, it's the calendar. It's not necessarily the parts of, it's the sum, not the actual parts. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I get it. I just don't necessarily like the optics of it.
It's like if we had a better system in place.
Well, and I think that there were plenty of opportunities for that to be the case. And
the NCAA fumbled the bag. Yeah. I think we've
at every turn.
I think we've established that pretty solidly this week, Mo.
All right. So, can someone else get those guardrails, guidelines, whatever you want to refer to them as?
Guardrails actually makes a lot of sense. It's not a word, but it is. I think that term, would make sense there.
Can someone get some type of framework in place that would address some of this?
And if they do, I think it would eliminate Power 4 head coaches. Now, I don't know if it eliminates Boston College's head coach going to be the defensive coordinator in Green Bay, because talk about a step up. But
yeah,
I think it would slow down anybody else's issues. Now,
do you want to continue to talk about Boston College for just a second?
I do.
I thought you might.
Because there are 2 coaches available who are not going to be head coaches in the NFL as the current carousel sits slowing down and to a near halt. I'm just saying somebody might get fired and we don't know it. Like, I'm just gonna leave it.
I guess somebody might retire and we don't know it.
Yeah, we don't know. So anyway, Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick are not coaching in 2024 in the NFL. Boston College's job is open. Belichick doesn't even have to move.
Belichick doesn't have to move, and Vrabel knows his way around because his son played there.
I'm just saying, call him up.
All he can say is no, right?
I mean, if you're Mike Vrabel,
and I mean, if you're Boston College and you're calling Belichick, I mean, even if he says no, I mean, that's not the only no you're going to get.
Yeah, you're right.
So
might as well shoot for the moon. You might land among the stars.
There you go. There we go. Shoot your shot, man.
Well, but Mike Vrabel, after 7 head coaching jobs came open that weren't his.
7 that he was eligible for.
Eligible to be hired for.
Yeah.
And I think he interviewed for 2. Los Angeles and Carolina.
Is that it?
I think that's the only 2.
Did he not interview in Seattle?
I don't think so.
Did he not interview in Atlanta?
I know he didn't interview in Atlanta. If those are the only 2 jobs he interviewed for, one, it doesn't feel like he wanted one. And if he did want one and they didn't want him, you go look at the coaches who were hired. Even Mike McDonald, young defensive guy, not old defensive guy. Mike Vrabel type head coaches are not in demand. CEO head coaches are not in demand. David Tepper said point blank, no more CEO coaches.
David Tepper doesn't know.
I know he's a crazy person, but I'm just saying he made that statement, and I think that a lot of other teams believe that.
So Vrabel did interview with Atlanta.
He did?
He interviewed in person. Cherian Williams of NBC Sports wrote on January 24th that they completed an in-person interview with him.
Even in
and
person?
He flew from Atlanta to Charlotte to interview with the Panthers the next day, which was a week ago today.
Gotcha.
And he had previously interviewed with the Chargers. So he had 3 interviews of the 7 openings.
Yeah. So. Well, we knew the Chargers weren't going to hire him.
We knew the Chargers were hiring Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah.
I just feel like if Mike Vrabel wants to be a head coach again, it's not going to be at the NFL level. At least not for now, until the game finds its way back to old school defensive mentality. Anyway.
Well, old school defensive mentality. What is Dan Quinn? Of course, now who wants Washington?
Again, who wanted the Washington job? Clearly nobody. Dan Quinn was the only one who said publicly that he would take it.
He might have been the only one that said privately he would take it.
Well, when he said publicly, hey, I would take that job, clearly Washington
sold.
Well, as a matter of fact, we got a job for you. So I just think
I moved that the nomination cease.
Because there were no more nominations to be had.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I'm curious how that might affect. Now, again, Mike Vrabel could be sitting at the house because Amy's got to pay him. Okay, he can afford to sit at the house and do nothing and get paid to do it.
And why would you not?
And if your options were the Washington Commanders or the house, The house is a much better
I'm
option.
going home. Yep. Screw you guys.
Yeah, because don't make me take another losing season on purpose. So anyway, we've got more coming your way tomorrow on the final show of the week. We've got great guests and much, much more. Come back with us on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bond & Joint. We will see you at 2:00 then.